Hello and welcome to this truly historic event, the first ever inauguration of a president at ISTA, the Institute of Science and Technology, Austria, wherever you may be watching here in the auditorium or via live stream. My name is Hannelore Veit and I'm happy and I'm honored to be your host for the next hour. This event today marks the formal handover of the presidency from outgoing President Thomas Hetzer to the new President Martin Hetzer, from one fantastic president to the next. And who would be more fitting to open this ceremony than the chairman of the ISTA Board of Trustees, Klaus Reidl. Please give a big hand to Klaus Reidl, the chairman of the ISTA Board of Trustees.
Well, thank you very much. Actually, I'm only used that I get the applause afterwards when I do a good job. But this is ISTA. You praise the people before you see them. Now, I'm afraid I will not be able to keep the pace of the musicians. But let me start very seriously, because for us at ISTA and for me personally, it is a very distinct pleasure to welcome you all this afternoon for the changeover from Tom Hetzer to Martin Hetzer. And we are celebrating this transition in a time where universities have not always the best time, but we can look, when I look backwards, to a big success. I will come back to that later. But let's do first things first. First, I want to welcome the representatives of politics, but then I want to welcome the representatives of the academic world of Austria. But let me start with politics. And it is always for me personally, but for us as an institute, an honor, a pleasure to welcome our Landeshauptfrau Johanna Mikl-Leitner. Johanna, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but when we had the second 15A agreement, which finances the institute up to 2036, I have to be very careful now, because Johanna was the driving force. And finally, thanks to you, we got it. The minister helped us too, of course, and the finance minister also. But Lower Austria, and they understood what it means when you have a strong country. Lower Austria managed that, we got it. Johanna, you know, I will always be thankful for that personally, and all of us will be thankful, because for the Institute, it was very important to get this financing up till 2036. Why? Because when we take a new professor and we say, yes, we have 3 years, as he will say, what is after 4 years? And we are not the University of Vienna where we can look back of 680 years or something. So this was very important. Thank you very much. I also welcome our minister, Martin Polaszek, the Federal Minister for Education, Science. And Mr. Polaszek, I must say thank you very much, because we had 10 ministers. We had 2 Landeshauptmann, one Landeshauptfrau, Landeshauptmann, and 10 ministers. So you know what stability means. But not all ministers, if I may say so, they cannot hear it anyway, if I may say so. Not all ministers came so often to the campus and were interested as you are. Thank you very much. And I also welcome the Deputy Lady Governor, I think that's the English translation, the Deputy Lady Governor of Lower Austria, Stefan Bernkopf, who is now in charge, among other things, agriculture, energy, of science. And thank you very much that you are here. And you are also not one of those ministers I just mentioned. You were already here and got an insight, and we could talk to you, and you got the presentation. This makes me very satisfied that we have a politician again. I must really say again, because Erwin Bröll and Johanna are the role model for me, what concerning the Institute. Again, a Landesrat and a vice governor, lady governor, whatever, who has a real interest in it. And not only an interest because it's your profession and your job. Thank you very much that you are here. And with and I also want, but I don't start now calling the names, but I also want to welcome and thank all those who are the staff members of Johanna Mikl-Leitner, of the minister and of the deputy governor, because the Sektionschefs and Abteilungsleiter, I say it now in German, they really help us very much. I don't want to say they make the work, but they really help us very much, and they are so well. I mean, sometimes people criticize bureaucracy, but I have never seen people in the ministry as well as here in Lower Austria who are so well organized, so well informed, so deeply involved in the problems, and always come up with solutions. When I go to the minister or to the land, I never heard this is not possible. I always heard, we will make it, we will find a way. And this I want to thank all those. I see Barbara Weidgruber here. Thank you very much. Let me now, and I will tell you in a minute why this is so important. Let me now welcome our esteemed guests from the universities, from the academic world, and from the research institution. Why am I so proud that, and I will give then a list who is present here, why I am so proud that you are here? Because when we founded the Institute in 2006, when the law was passed, and I'm also trying to be very polite, when the law was passed, not all universities were extremely happy with this, because there was the question of the money and so on and so forth. But today, I can welcome so many Magnifizenzen of Austrian universities and other institutions that I can say ISTA Austria has also found in Austria the right place in the academic world. Worldwide, we're already on the landmark. But in Austria, and I always say like the French, le passé ne compte pas. So in this sense, it is for me a great, great pleasure. And I start with the president of the UNICO, Magnificentia, Professor Sabine Seidler. She is the president of the UNICO, which is the conference. I don't see her now. Oh, here, yeah. No. Magnificentia Sabine Seidler is not only the president of the UNICO, which is the university conference of the 22 public universities. Did I describe that correctly? Because I don't have so much time, so I have to do that. And she is the rector, this is why I say Magnificentia, she's the rector of the Technical University of Vienna. And Frau Professor Seidler, you know, we had a lot of contacts, and I think you understand the sentence. It doesn't concern you, by the way, that you understand the sentence, le passé ne compte pas, because we never had a problem. And as a matter of fact, I think the first close relations with an Austrian university was the Technical University in Vienna, where we really showed we are part in the system of Austria, because others were others. So now I welcome some rectors, and I want to do that without being impolite, but we all have a time frame. I want to do that in cumulo, as you say, in certain organizations. I welcome Seine Magnifizenz, Professor Sebastian Schütze, the rector of the University of Vienna. I welcome Seine Magnifizenz, Professor Peter Riedler, rector of the University of Graz. I welcome Seine Magnifizenz, Professor Rudolf Malinger, Director of the Karl Landsteiner Privatuniversität. Those were the Magnifizenzen, as I heard when I was a student. Now you don't use it anymore. But when I was a student, Magnifizenz and Spektabilität and so on and so forth was common in use. And I thank you very much that you are here. Besides that, I welcome the director of the Research Center for Molecular Medicine, Giulio Suberto Furga. I am very proud that the president of the Christian Doppler Gesellschaft is here, the Christian Doppler Society is here, Martin Gertschabeck. I welcome Michaela Fritz, the vice rector of the Medical University in Vienna. I am proud to welcome also the vice rector of the Veterinarian University, Otto Dobelhoff-Dier. The vice president of the Austrian Academy of Sciences is here, Ulrike Diebold, and Elvira Welzig from the Ludwig Boltzmann Gesellschaft, Ludwig Boltzmann Society. And Christoph Gattringer from the FWF, which is very important for us, because it's one of the sources where you can get money. Our main source is the European Research Council, where we are very, very, very successful without getting self-conceited. We are very successful. And in Austria, the FWF is for us very important. And I think the things we put in there are so good that we get something back for it. And I also want to welcome, Georg Knill, the president of the Industrielle Vereinigung. Why do I this? Because the others was clear, because you're universities. But Georg Knill represents the Association of Austrian Industrialists, the Industrielle Vereinigung. And why is it so important that he is here? Because when we founded the institute, when the law was passed, the Industrielle Vereinigung played a decisive role with President Veit Sorger then, and we had, which is very interesting, that an Industrielle Vereinigung goes for basic research and not for applied research. But then this was a decisive help, and I think we had, without going in details, a meeting at Chancellor Schüssel where the Industrielle Vereinigung said, yes, we would also like to have that. So this is, Georg Knill, why I'm so thankful that you are here. Now, I also want to welcome those I did not mention, because, you have to make a decision. Either you don't take any names, or you take some names and some are unsatisfied. I choose the second. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know this was a rather long opening, but believe me, and this goes for me, but for the whole institute, we are honored to welcome you all, especially, as I said, from the academic world, since our past was not always easy. Now, the present, I see that we have very good and close cooperations. I also want to give a very special warm welcome to our students, postdocs, of course to our professors, and to our administrative team, which is praised already by Martin, our new president. It was always praised by Tom, our former president, and I also can only praise it. And under the leadership of our managing director, Georg Schneider, I think we really support science in a wonderful way with your administrative people. I also am, as I said when I welcomed Georg Knill, I'm glad to see so many people from industry. I see some donors. Perhaps I see some future donors. So this is for us very important. And finally, of course, I want to welcome my colleagues from the Board of Trustees. But here, since we are one group, I don't have to mention any names. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I go on as chairman of the Board of Trustees, let me say two sentences not as chairman of the board, as a humble, simple Austrian citizen to this institution. 2 sentences. Sentence number 1. This institute was founded by law in 2006. The first board of trustees was nominated also in 2006, where it says in the law 7 non-scientists, 4 nominated by the Republic, 3 nominated by the Bundesland. I don't say province, because when you say province in German, it has a negative connotation. So I say the Bundesland, and at least 7 scientists. And in the law says it should be more scientists than non-scientists. We have now a relationship 7 to 10. We have 10 scientists and 7 non-scientists, which is decisive and important for an institution like we are here. The president was elected then finally in 2009, and we had, between 2006 and 2009, a clear vision. What should be this institute? What should we do there? About our unique setup and purpose, and since nobody in Austria ever founded such an institute, we had the advice of 3 famous people. Haim Harari, the former president of the Weizmann Gesellschaft, he was for 13 years president there. Then we had Olaf Kübler, who is still here and member of the Board of Trustees. He was president of the ETH Zürich, Eidgenössische Technische Hochschule. And then we had Hubert Makel, who was president of Max Planck. I think more top you cannot get for Austria when you found an institute. And they gave us a report. I don't go into details now. We called it, Olaf, as you know, our roadmap. And according to this roadmap, we started this institute. By the way, the first idea for such an institution was Anton Zeilinger. Anton Zeilinger came back. He told me, I think, from a visit in the United States, and he said, what Austria needs is an elite Universität. I say it in German, an elite university. But he did not know, and I didn't know it either in so strict forms, that the word elite was for half of the politicians a bad word. So we had to change the name. We never said then elite university, but we said University for Basic Research and so on and so forth. And we then founded and worked with this, and now is the decisive sentence. If somebody had said then, in 2006, 8, 9, that in 10 years, this institute will be a big landmark on the map of scientific institutions, we would have said, well, we are good, but we are not that good. It's a little bit crazy to think in these terms. But 10, 20 years now, after we founded it and did all what I said, ISTA really is a landmark, ISTA Austria, really is a landmark of the scientific map of the world. And I don't say that as a non-scientist, but so many scientists, not only here in Austria, less in Austria, by the way, scientists, international scientists tell me that they are really, now I feel quite sorry, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention you. Because he was then very decisive when the institute was founded. Now I come back. And this institution, I must say, nobody thought that in Austria this is possible. Why? And I say that as an Austrian. In Austria, we are world record holder in telling people why things cannot be done. And here, we are record holder that in 10, 14 years, an institute was founded, and we are now a landmark in the scientific map of the world. I call this a little Austrian miracle. And I really think it is a miracle in this country that this was possible, and that we keep this track, and that we always find the best people. Now, let me come, I said we had a vision, and we know that we want to have basic research. And we want basic research. Also, we want to educate graduate students in the natural sciences. What is basic research? Basic research is research only driven by the curiosity of the researcher. Nothing else. No influence. That is why it is also called curiosity-driven research. And this is our principle. No influence. Complete freedom. The researcher does what he thinks is necessary, and then we see, but this is basic research. And from this basic sentence, we had our principles. A defined tenure track, interdisciplinarity, very important. We did it even in some architectural things where we made a bridge between buildings that people can meet. And we have only the top of their field, or we don't take them. It is, let me say something to politics. When we founded this and now with the success. It is now très chic, or should we say très chic, to criticize politicians and to criticize politics in general. But I must say, when I consider the people who made the decision in the federal government and in the government of Lower Austria. In the federal government, it was the Chancellor Wolfgang Schüssel, it was Erwin Bröll as Landeshauptmann, and Elisabeth Gera as Minister for Education. This was a very bold and courageous decision to found such an institute, which is own law, with only one supervising body, and this is the Board of Trustees, which they own law, Board of Trustees, and with the complete freedom, and with public finances. And I can tell you, we know that we live from the taxpayers' money. We know that we are responsible for every cent, for every euro we spend, and we ask ourselves, is it spent the right way or do we waste it? And I can tell you, not only because we are quite successful, that these questions have to be done and that we do this in a very, very strict way. As I said already, ISTA, Institute of Science and Technology, has proven remarkably successful, also securing large amounts of third funding. We have very successful applications at the European Research Council. Madame Notny was here, she was the president, oh here she is. She was the president. Helga, I always thank you very much for I mean it was very objective everything, but no, it's always good to have an Austrian in such European institutions. And we were very successful, not because of that, because we were good, to say that. And we also are now on the philanthropic side quite successful. We get some money there. And industry, when we started the institute with Veit Sorger, industry, the industrialists, spent, I think, 13 million. That was at the very, very beginning. This, for instance, was Raiffeisen with 2 million. First Alpine building was Böhle-Udoholm at first with 2 million. The administrative building. Then Mitterbauer, MIBA shop was here or is here. So we do the American system, you know, everybody is mentioned, which is necessary. This is why we call it the Raiffeisen Hall. But a lot of money. And it's not bad to do it this way. And to finish that section, yes, the time. But I said to Hannelore Veit, I am me and I do what I want. But I will, don't worry, I'm not self-conceited. But it's more important to have 5 minutes more of the history than 5 minutes earlier to the buffet. Now, the successful development is due in no small part, and this I have to say also, I know he doesn't want to hear it, is due to no small part to the steadfast and enduring vision and leadership provided by our outgoing president, Tom Hensinger. I know, Tom, you do not like to hear this, but I always have to say it because it's the truth, and we are very thankful to that. Now, with the new president, with Martin Hetzer, we are entering in a new phase of development. He will tell us in his inauguration speech what he is going to do. Let me briefly describe the search process. And I do that really 1 minute. I do that also because in Austria we have different ways of nominating rectors. So let me describe how we did it. The process was led by an independent search committee. The chairman of the search committee was Professor Jan Mattei. He was director of the EMBL, of the European Molecular Biology Lab, and of Human Technopole in Milan. He is also a member of the Board of Trustees and the chairman of the executive committee. And we hired also a consultant, and to make it fast, we had more than 150 applications or people who were nominated by others. And this screening process, you interview the people and so on and so forth, was very thoroughly done, perhaps a little bit untypical for Austria, but it was really very thoroughly done. And so that not only scientists talk about that, we had Elisabeth Engelbrechts-Müller-Strauß, who was part of the group, and she is also part of the Board of Trustees, but not the scientists. We wanted that also somebody looks at the candidates who is not the scientist. To make it short, the list was boiled down. At the end, we had 2 people, and then we decided for Martin Hetzer, and he really, and you will see that when he speaks, he really impressed the search committee and us, and I must say, Martin, also me, about your strong vision about ISTA's future and his leadership track at the Salk Institute. Martin was for 20 years in the United States, and we unanimously and enthusiastically voted for you in our board meeting last fall, and I think with you we will have a real good future. Because we must, and this is my last sentence, we must not forget, you must not forget, that now we have 1,000 employees, we have 75 research groups, and when Tom started, the question was, how will we survive? Now when Martin, you start this, the question is, will we keep the growth path? And you know, we have a growth path till 2036 from 75 units, also teams in research, up to 150. And this is very, very ambitious because we have now the inflation, we have the financing, but with the inflation, it's always a question, how much can you build? But it is our goal, and this we need. 150 research groups in 2036. Now, as I said, with Tom, the question was, how will we survive? With you, Martin, the question is, and you will have to answer it, how will we remain a world-renowned hub for basic research? Thank you very much. It was too long, but I do not apologize because I think it was necessary.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Klaus Reidel. Never sticks to his time, but always such a pleasure to listen to him. Thank you again. Now, I see some seats in the middle still, so if you would like to sit down, please just move in. We know we have a very dynamic president, you have said it, who spent 20 years at the Salk Institute in San Diego, exchanging perfect Southern California weather for not so perfect Klosterneuburg weather. He is a man with a plan, he is a man with a vision, and we have asked his new colleagues here at ISTA in Klosterneuburg, what does the new president need to thrive at ISTA? Here's what they have to say, and they have some very useful tips for him.
To thrive at ISTA, you should go to lunch at either 11:45 or 12:30 to beat the lunch rush.
To trip ISTA and the clean room, we order for you a special overall, and we hope that it fits you.
When I was invited to give this short address, I thought about coffee, and I hope that you enjoy having coffee and sharing informal chats with a lot of people at ISTA, because I think it will help you build a great strategy for the future of the Institute.
You're going to need one thing, and that's a recognizable coffee mug for all the fuel that we need for our work. And there's one thing you should never do, which is leave your mug unattended.
You will not only need to focus on excellence, but you will need a lot of time to connect to people from politics, from industry, and sometimes a good glass of wine will help.
To thrive at ISTA and in Austria, don't be afraid to explore the wide range of restaurants here with your guests. But remember not to spend more than the entertainment guideline allows, because our accounts department is relentless and makes no exception, not even for the president of ISTA.
For Austria, you need a certain amount of tenacity, a big amount of humor, and lots of sarcasm to survive.
You should both join a sports club. The running group on campus would be an excellent choice.
Here are 3 things that will help you above all. A wild curiosity about novelty and the unknown, an open heart and ear for a variety of opinions, and a strong will and persistence in the face of challenges.
You need a healthy body and a healthy mind. If you need help, come to us. We support you.
You need a reliable compass to navigate the political landscape confidently. A trustworthy network provides the necessary guidance, and the Austrian universities are happy to be part of your network.
Independence is one of the key factors of ISTA. Therefore, I wish you a lot of patience, strength and cleverness in handling the various stakeholders.
You'll need to develop a good memory for names, because we're going to have many more colleagues to come.
You will need nerves of steel, because getting so many individuals to move in one direction, you will definitely need it.
You'll need a green mind to lead and support the sustainability of the Institute.
To thrive at ISTA, you should spend most of your time working outside next to the pond.
I wish Martin Hetzer all the best with pursuing the 2 key goals of the ISTA: being a center of excellent science without compromises, but equally important, connecting this excellence with research teams at the Austrian universities and other scientific institutions.
From one president to another, don't be afraid to be bold, especially in the face of adversity.
One person missing in this video is missing because he's here with us. That's the minister in charge of science and research, an academician himself, a researcher himself, but of course also a politician. What does he think that the new president needs to turn his presidency into a success story? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Minister for Education, Science and Research, Martin Polaschek.
Well, thank you very much, dear Governor Mikkel Leitner, dear Chairman Reidel, distinguished participants of today's inauguration event. I'm very proud that I can be part of this great ceremony, and dear President Hetzer, to come to some good advice. Coffee is always good. But I would like to start my brief words by congratulating you for your excellent choice of becoming the new president of the Institute of Science and Technology Austria. Looking at your really impressive vita and your various achievements as researcher and as science manager, I am sure that you had many other exciting options. So let me tell you why, from my admittedly not completely unbiased point of view, you choose the right institute. As already mentioned by Mr. Reidel, back in 2006, when ISTA was founded, yes, some people from other universities followed the developments around with great interest. And not in my current role of minister, of course, but a researcher myself, and then as a vice rector of the University of Graz, I honestly need to admit that at the time I also could not have imagined that the ISTA project would so soon turn out to be such a success story. The current state of development already exceeds all my expectations, and not only my expectations, so from many other people. And as you know, we are only halfway there. I cannot wait to see what exciting development will occur when the Institute will have grown to 150 research groups by 2036. As I see it, the reason for ISTA's success lays in the clear vision of its founding members, the establishment of a new leading Austrian Institute of Basic Research. The International Committee, already mentioned by Professor Reidel, consisting of Haim Harari, Olaf Kübler, and Hubert Makel, brought this vision to paper in a far-sighted report. And this document became the blueprint for the establishment and the development of ISTA, defining its principles, structures, and goals. And the vision has since been successfully followed by the Institute and especially former President Tom Hensinger. Looking back, these experienced science managers and visionary personalities had the right instinct to trust not only in the potential of basic research, but most of all in the expertise and intuition of outstanding young scientists and their research teams. Therefore, I believe that beyond everything else, ISTA's success is due to the individuals that work here. It is rooted in the trust and freedom that the Institute puts into excellent young scientists. Moreover, it is due to the diverse, ambitious, and constructive climate here on campus. Maybe it is the biggest compliment for a young research institute to successfully attract the smartest heads, not only from Austria, but from top research facilities around the world to come and to stay here. You see it, the international spirit is omnipresent here, in the language on campus, and especially through the many diverse perspectives of outstandingly bright characters who are given the freedom to pursue their ideas. ISTA established a melting pot of bright, young, and promising personalities, offering them the opportunity to engage in inspiring exchanges or even fusions of their ideas. And I'm convinced that this unique setting is one major component that encourages so many top scientists to choose ISTA as their academic home. Undoubtedly, over the past years, we set the foundation for the remarkable development of the Institute. Compared to the Austrian university system and other research facilities here in Austria, ISTA enjoys one of the highest long-term financing perspectives by the public hand. Needless to say that in times like these, such public backing through tax funds is an exceptional privilege that requires a responsible handling. Looking at the unprecedented success story of the still young institute, I'm sure that this commitment by the federal government as well as the state of Lower Austria merits. And I'm glad that the state of Lower Austria and my ministry are on the same page here. The long-term financial security sets the basis for the pursuit of ISTA's founding vision by granting a stable development of the institution. My wish for you, Professor Hetzer, as new president, it is that you will dedicate yourself to the purpose of the Institute, according to its ambitious mission, and that the excellent cooperation between the Institute and my ministry will continue. At the same time, I cannot wait to see what unprecedented potential will unfold due to your personal mark on the Institute. Your already mentioned impressive vita and experiences with other top international institutions will certainly contribute to ISTA's further growth in excellence by international standards. And I am more than convinced that you are an excellent choice to achieve the next benchmark goals of the Institute's development. A growth to 90 research groups by 2026 and to 150 research groups to 2036. And it is almost beyond my imagination what potential will unfold here in the Vienna woods by then if the Institute remains true to its current standard. As I've seen on the website of your former institute, the Salk Institute, where you see the quote, "The power of science," I'm quite sure that with you, the power of science will be seen here in Lower Austria, will be seen here in Austria more than before, and you will lead the ISTA to a further very, very good way. And as a minister and as a scientist, more a scholar than a scientist, I wish you visionary drive, persistence, but also humility in face of the task, as well, of course, as the necessary enthusiasm and joy for your new job as president at this remarkable institute. Good luck, Professor Hetzer.
Thank you, Minister Polishuk. Also, thank you for sticking to your allotted time and being very short. I'll also try and be very brief here. We've heard it several times before. ISTA was founded by both the federal government and the government of the state of Lower Austria. And please notice, I said the state of Lower Austria. Today's governor was then a member of the government of Lower Austria, and she is here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Governor Johanna Mikl-Leitner.
Please give me some minutes, and I can promise you I don't need 30 minutes as Klaus Reidel. But we will forgive you because we know it came from your heart. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear researchers, dear Professor Henzinger, and above all, dear President Martin Hetzer. We are meeting here today to celebrate a very special occasion, the ceremonial inauguration of Martin Hetzer as the new president of ISTA. And we are actually doing this in one of the most challenging times of our generation, the time of global conflicts and challenges such as the war in the Ukraine, the pandemic, and the climate change. Challenges that can and must be met by new know-how as well as by science and research-based findings in many, but unfortunately not in all fields. And this is where a clear mandate is derived from, namely to keep investing in science in the same way as we have been doing in the past 20 years, and where we have achieved a number of outstanding results. In this respect, I'm especially thinking of our science axis that starts out from Wiener Neustadt and goes on all the way to Wieselburg, St. Pölten, Krems, Tulln, until it finally reaches Klosterneuburg with our ISTA that has become a world-class institution. In fact, it all began with a vision, and Klaus Reidel told you about the vision. A vision that was shared by my esteemed predecessor Erwin Pröll, and by Wolfgang Schüssel and Liesl Gehre. Liesl Gehre, she was the former Minister of Science. However, at first there was quite some resistance to this vision, not only from the world of politics, but also from the world of science. And so it is thanks to Erwin Pröll's courage, determination, strength, and energy that our ISTA project has become reality. So I would like to say thank you very much to Erwin Pröll. It comes from my heart. In fact, this implementation has been accompanied by many personalities, such as the chairman of the supervisory board, Klaus Reidler. We know him very well. And the world-renowned scientist Haim Harari, as well as the president Thomas Hetzer, who led this institution for more than 13 years. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me express my heartfelt thanks to all of them, and please give them your hand. So, and now to you, Professor Hetzer. It was your incentive to invite the best scientists from all over the world to Lower Austria to ISTA. And you have truly succeeded in doing so, which is underlined by the fact that there are about 1,000 employees from almost 80 countries researching and working at ISTA in the meantime. And that, so far, 3 researchers have already been awarded by Wittgenstein Prize. And that ISTA has the highest ERC grant success rate in Europe. So we can be very proud about that. And so I would like to take this opportunity here today to express my sincere thanks for all of your achievements. And in fact, I am doing so with a smile in my face, because you can now devote yourself to your international research career again. Whereas, on the other side, I am also doing so with a tear in my eye, because I will miss you personally. So, dear Professor Hetzer, kindly allow me to express my heartfelt thanks to you one more time. Many thanks to you. And Professor Hetzer, you can be assured that we are not only going to uphold your outstanding legacy of cutting-edge research here in cooking with great care, dedication, and thoughtfulness in the future, but will also continue to support it. On the one hand, with a funding commitment amounting to 3.6 billion euros till the end of the year 2036. An agreement in favor of ISTA that has been made between the Ministry of Science and the federal country of Lower Austria. So thank you to esteemed Minister Polaszek. Dear Martin, many thanks. The money is a very good investment for science. On the other hand, kindly allow me to promise you all to carry on upholding the freedom of science without any political interference. And it is these 2 promises that may serve as introductory gift for the new president, Martin Hetzer. You too are a top scientist of world reputation who began his career in Vienna and has earned his merits as Vice President and Professor at the Salk Institute of California. As President of ISTA, you have agreed to take over responsibility in order to further expand ISTA and to give it even more radiance. And I am deeply convinced that your attitude towards development is the right one, as you firmly believe that this institute will soon give rise to a Nobel Prize winner. And you have also realized that here at ISTA there is more room for maneuver than anywhere else. Esteemed Mr. President, kindly allow me to wish you all possible success for your great task. So I'm looking forward to a close partnership with you personally, with ISTA, as well as with the federal country of Lower Austria. In this respect, kindly allow me to express my sincere wishes for lots of success. Dear Mr. President, I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Governor Mikl-Leitner, for your words of support. We are now coming to the highlight of today's event, to the official ceremony of handing over the presidency. We are starting a new tradition here. The presidency comes with a stole. You will see the two stoles, old president, new president, once they are here on the stage. And it comes with a presidential chain. This is very new. It was created by award-winning New York-based Austrian designer Andreas Palfinger, together with the machine shop and the nanofabrication facility here on campus. It features the chain, you can see it, Alicia has it here. It features in its center, in its centerpiece, a silhouette of the main building of ISTA and also the founding principles of ISTA. Basically the two cornerstones of the Institute's identity that will remain constant for years to come. The chain's multiple parts will represent its presidents, the Institute's presidents, past, present, and future. Every president to come will get one of these parts of the chain. There are two that are engraved now, of course, for the two presidents who are here with us. In other words, the chain will grow, it will grow with the Institute. Now, we are all looking forward to Martin Hetzer's inaugural address as a president today. And for that, I would like to ask both presidents, Tom Hensinger, the outgoing president, and the new president, Martin Hetzer. First, Tom Hensinger, here on the stage, and continue.
Thank you. Dear guests of honor, dear colleagues at ISTA, it was an enormous privilege to lead this institute for more than 13 years. And everything has an end, and I'm so glad the search committee found you, Martin. And I'm very happy to hand over today also ceremonially and symbolically the presidency to you. Some people seem to think that I could give you some advice. You know, I can only tell you what I told, every single assistant professor we hired here in the last 14 years. When they ask me, what does it take to get tenure at ISTA? There is no formula. There is not one simple recipe for success in science. But when you succeed, you'll know it, and everybody else will too. So there will be hard work, there will be tough decisions, some of them even painful, but I'm totally confident that this institute will climb to new heights under your leadership. And I wish you all the best and good luck.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tom, for handing this chain, and it's kind of heavy, so please look at it at the outside. It will be displayed. So good afternoon, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy days to come here and celebrate this important event with us. I'm deeply grateful for the outstanding faculty, students, postdocs, and staff here at the Institute, at this growing institute. Over the last 4 months, you have welcomed me with a warmth and open arms that anyone can only wish for, and I'm really proud to be part of this amazing community. Also from my side, a welcome and appreciation to our honored guests, from colleagues from other universities, from institutes here in Vienna, and from other countries in Europe. Also representatives of learned societies, and then also my special welcome to Bundesminister Polaschek, Landeshauptfrau Mikl-Leitner, and also Landeshauptfrau Stellvertreter Polaschek. We met a week ago. So allow me also a few moments to acknowledge several individuals who have been absolutely critical for the success of the Institute and actually who brought us to this day. It takes a lot of leadership and determination and obviously a 30-minute long introduction to take an institute from an idea to what it is today. And I had 6 pages for Klaus Reidl, but since you took 30 minutes, I will be very short. I really want to thank you personally because we met during the interview process. It was handled at the highest international level. I can tell you it was a great experience, and I think the Institute, we owe you a great deal of gratitude for your guidance over so many years from something that was really just an idea and from visionary politicians like Erwin Freud to make something happen like this in Austria. And I think together with the Board of Trustees and all the members who are here, thank you so much for your guidance through that process. Also, many of you in the audience have helped me with guidance and support. I want to especially thank Olaf Kübler. He's one of the founding architects of the Institute. I'm so grateful to have him getting access from him for guidance, and I really appreciate that. Of course, today would not be, and he hates that when we talk about Tom, which is part, I think, of his amazing quality as a leader, but it would not be possible without Tom. His dedication, commitment is legendary. He has been extremely generous with me in the transition period, which was a big one, as you've seen from California to here. But his advice and your leadership style is a true inspiration for me. And also the team he has assembled with Managing Director Georg Schneider, Executive Vice President Michael Six. They have been so helpful in me getting started here in the last 4 months. So thank you so much. Now, leading a dynamic and vibrant and growing institution like this it's not a one-man show. It requires a lot of people. It requires a group of dedicated and passionate people. And I want to thank all the people in the President's office, everyone who had pleasure to interact with the President's office for your support. I'm very grateful for my family. My wife Claudia can't be here today. My son, who is at college in Los Angeles. Friends who are here. I go back in college times, and they all helped me tremendously to get started here with this big transition. And lastly, I want to thank Hannelore. Where are you for meeting? There you are. And the team who actually made this event happen, Magdalena and Maria, for doing probably more than I even know what you did to make this happen. Mia, Toda, and Salvatore for actually conceiving and really developing with our machine shop this beautiful chain. And Alicia for, where are you? Alicia for... somewhere, there you are, for actually, I think you have the only other job that is more difficult than the President is actually organizing such an inauguration, which, thank you, I don't know how you did it. Anyway, thank you. So today's ceremony is the first presidential transition. So it's a moment for us to use this event and as an occasion to step outside the daily responsibilities and distractions and contemplate the path ahead of the Institute with its challenges and opportunities. And I do actually have to say that the challenges and opportunities in some cases were because our names actually are realized, Hensinger and Hetzer. Yes, I was Martin Hensinger already on several occasions. I just wanted to mention that too. So I've had the privilege of being a faculty member at a renowned research institute in 2 continents, and you've seen the pictures at the Salk Institute, the Pacific Ocean. I started there as professor and served as the senior vice president for 6 years. Salk has shaped me as a scientist, but also ignited the passion for science management in me. And I think science, ISTA and Salk are different and similar in several aspects. They're both free of rigid departmental structures. They're dedicated to interdisciplinary research, and most importantly, they are dedicated to basic research, or I like the word in German, Grundlagenforschung, actually better because it shows the foundational aspect of research. Now, a culture of collegiality and active encouragement to take risk and go beyond my own discipline has allowed me to develop my own research career across disciplines that led me from studying how molecules move within cells, working with physicists, chemists, mathematicians, all the way to questions how we age. How do we age as adults? And we used, because we ran into technological problems, used methods that were developed in astronomy and geology and applied them in life sciences. In doing so, we were able to discover mechanisms that allow organs such as our brain or heart to function over the course of a lifetime. And yes, we also start to understand why it is that as we get older, we're more susceptible to disease. So this is an example. I think this type of research would not have been possible in a rigid university structure. It was an encouragement. I was not boxed in at the Institute. And this is sort of a culture and an environment I also would like to transfer here and continue to develop at ISTA. So then why? People ask me a lot, why did you leave the Salk if everything went so well and you were so happy? Why did you actually make this decision? And the answer is very simple. It was obvious to me when I looked at what ISTA has become. And it was also fairly easy for me. And it was a big decision because I was asked to consider the role of presidency at the Salk. But it was a remarkable easy decision. I think ISTA, by combining key elements from the best pieces of European science and the US science, is a unique research environment. And the fact that it is so close to the city I'm born in, and actually I grew up in Niederösterreich, was just a cherry on top. Now, with a campus in the Wienerwald, or the Vienna Woods, which sounds a bit strange to me, but Wienerwald, as I said, ISTA combines the best of European and US ingredients in creative ways. And as we have heard, it achieved already many serious and quantifiable achievements. One that wasn't mentioned, it was in 2019 already ranked top 3 in an independent ranking of normalized institution ranking. So in the Nature Index, it hit the 3rd position. Internationally, really a great indication of the great success of the Institute. So as we celebrate today, as it was mentioned before, we're halfway, at the halfway point of reaching our goal of 150 research groups. Reaching this goal is absolutely necessary to develop and reach critical mass in key research activities and firmly establish ISTA at the top in international research landscape. The political leader of this country, some of whom are here today, had, I think, the vision and commitment, and they did this also today, to secure long-term funding, which is absolutely critical, and by the way, pretty uncommon in the US. That doesn't happen. You always have to chase the money. But as we have said before, inflation does pose a significant risk towards reaching our goal. And I'm glad and really very happy to hear that we can count on your long-term commitment. Now, over the past 3 months, my first 3 months, I met every faculty member, every professor, and curious to hear what their motivation was to join the Institute. And after a series of inspiring and wonderful discussions, I learned that many joined the Institute for the same reason I did, to be part of a developing research organization, an organization that is not already established, where when you join, you can make an incremental change in addition to the Institute, but really to profoundly shape the path of a growing institution. Now, ISTA is one of the few, and that might surprise you, one of the few interdisciplinary institutions that actually focus on basic science, on Grundlagenforschung. And we are facing, as Landesfrau Mikl-Leitner said, facing many adversities, from pandemics, from climate change. And so the calls for translational research are getting louder and louder. And it is the fact that short-term thinking rules the world, so the calls for translational research institutions is becoming louder, and it actually results in closing of institutions, such as happened recently in New York, and also big funding agencies shift away from basic research towards translational research. And some colleagues say that basic research is actually under attack. So even more so important that we double down on that goal, because long-term basic research prepares the ground for technological innovation, and a society that relies only on translational research will soon have nothing that it can apply. Because the nature of human creativity is such a fragile thing, it needs a special environment to thrive. And I actually noticed that you mentioned the curiosity-driven aspect, that in German, just to make that point, we actually have two words for curiosity, which is Neugierde and Wissbegierde. So even in German, I think we have to double down here and remain that as a major focus. So driven by curiosity, ISTA researchers have accomplished major scientific breakthroughs. They have pioneered new approaches and new methods in mathematics and computer science. They are working on particles that you probably have never heard of, but are bound to revolutionize quantum computing. They're developing new materials for energy conversion and storage, and deciphering the logic of cells and also the wirings of the brain. And they're doing so increasingly using methods of artificial intelligence, such as machine learning. And so by unraveling the inner workings of the world, from the tiniest subparticles to the mysteries of the universe, we have a lot to look forward to in the future. And we will think, due to our work and research discoveries, we will have a profound impact on society and science itself. So now, if you indulge me a few more moments, I want to pose some questions and share my thoughts about the issues shaping ISTA's future. What are the ingredients that we need to establish us firmly as a top research institute in the world? And what are some of the challenges and opportunities that are ahead of us, and specifically in the context of being a basic research institute and a rapidly growing institute? So let me start with this, we don't have all the answers yet. I certainly don't. And I would even say, how could we? We have maybe, I don't know, a few decades ago entered the era of big data, and now we are propelled into the next area of algorithms. And I think it's no surprise we all experience this firsthand. AI will change the way we work and the way we do science. And that occurs at a speed that is actually hard to keep up with. And so we constantly have to find new answers. It's not even obvious how we derive the knowledge, and from that knowledge, even the wisdom, but applying that knowledge, what to do next. And I was told to use quotes very sparely, not to overdo it, but one I wanted to use from Michel de Montaigne, who I loved as a teenager. And he said, we can be knowledgeable with someone else's knowledge, but we cannot be wise with someone else's wisdom. And for me, this is so critical, because I make this point all the time, that we cannot learn, we cannot just take the wisdom that other top institutions have or might have developed and apply it to ISTA. We have to do the hard work, developing our own knowledge, our own wisdom. And so that's why it's so important that we develop ways and approaches that work for ISTA. Now, one thing that I always ask when I listen to someone like me say things that I just said is, well, that's all quite nice, but how do you actually, what's success? What does this mean for you? Like, what kind of metrics would you use to measure whether whatever you do is actually works? Now, to me, the most critical test for any governance method or strategy is how well we succeed to attract and retain top talent and provide them an environment that they can flourish. That's really it. That's as simple, but it's as hard to do. We must place, obviously, utmost value on the caliber and the quality of individuals and give them the opportunity and complete freedom to follow the research. I call them careful mavericks, so people who actually are thoughtful, not reckless, but they are open to venture into new disciplines. And I believe that we have to continue to build bridges between disciplines, because between disciplines, that's where often new ideas and new approaches emerge. Now, a word about the recruitment process. We're now 75, 76 faculty members. Those were selected cumulatively out of a pool of almost 18,000 applicants. So every year the Institute receives at least 1,500 applications, out of which maybe a handful or 8 or maybe up to 10 people are selected. So extremely selective. And we have to improve our recruitment process. It's a huge administrative burden, a huge burden on the faculty, carefully balancing between strengthening individual programs, building bridges, but also venturing into new disciplines. And it's of utmost importance to me to integrate, to pay attention how we welcome incoming faculty, and especially young faculty, that they get all the resources and the freedom to develop their own ideas. Those are extremely important to keep an eye on and be as supportive as possible. Now, consistent with our goal to have no rigid departmental structure, we also have to recognize that traditional evaluation metrics may really not accurately reflect the impact and value of research. Rigid evaluation systems, and I think many of you have heard the term publish or perish. Only counting publications will not get us there. It actually will be an impediment, I think, in some cases to scientific progress. And I want to give you one example, a former colleague of mine, a physicist who wanted to develop an imaging modality that allows him to image how neurons interact with each other. He spent years to develop the method, didn't publish at the same level as many of his life science colleagues did, so he would not have been called a success, yet he succeeded. And now he created an entire new field and is able to image neurons in the spinal cord that nobody else can do. He founded a new entire discipline. So that shows that we have to also look at the entirety of an individual scientist and not just at traditional evaluation metrics. I have to drink. The tongue is really doing its own thing when you're drying. So by resisting temptations to build classical departments, that's also maybe confusing to many, it's unknown. I strongly believe we can foster, as we have done in the past, interdisciplinary research. And I strongly believe that at the edges between disciplines where new ideas and new approaches are born. And I think there we can make a huge impact, not only what we study, but also how we do research. And new approaches to discovery, creating an environment where the diversity of new ideas is created by a lack of boundaries. And I think that brings me to really the central question. What differentiates ISTA from other top research institutes in Europe and in the US? Now you might ask, okay, why do we have to be different? Why can't we just be like any other top research institute in the world? And the answer for me is, in order to remain successful, we have to find unique ways to approach the challenge of the questions of what the institute should actually look like. And I think that's actually our biggest asset, having this fluidity and flexibility, actually asking the question that many institutions cannot do because they have this long history and it's just extremely difficult to overcome institutional barriers. I think leaders for big universities know what I'm talking about. I think this is our challenge. We all have the same ambitions. Everyone wants to hire the best people. Everyone wants to get access to the best technology. That doesn't differentiate us. But how we actually go about this, and I know someone mentioned a cook or ingredients. Cooks all have the same ingredients, but how you assemble it makes a difference, whether you are a Michelin star or not. But we do have, and I reiterate that, we have to differentiate ourselves from other top institutions because we cannot point to this long, illustrious history. Now, at ISTA growth, the doubling, will shape what's possible. But I also agree with a colleague of mine who told me, but growth is not a vision. And I completely agree. But creating a research network and the quality of the research network, and not just counting and achieving a certain number of faculty, that should be our success. Using that metric, we should use measure our success. Now, instead of premeditated departments, we will be defining research activities where the institute can excel and differentiate itself from other institutions. I look at mathematics, computer science, chemistry, physics, not as disciplines, but as activities that constantly develop and where new connections can be made between other research disciplines. So really look at this like a microscope or telescope where you can see things that you haven't been able to see before. You can look in the same way at mathematics and computer science that allows you to see things in large data sets, for instance, that is not visible before. So you could look at mathematics as a new microscope for the life sciences. This approach will not happen by the president telling people what to do. It has to leverage the faculty expertise, and we have a wonderful faculty across different disciplines. And one way to do this, to create new connections, is to develop science themes. So we need something instead of departments, and to do that is by developing scientific themes that guide, prioritize, and facilitate our research effort, facilitate interdisciplinary research. And we are poised to create important initiatives in very important areas, such as climate change and its impact on human health or environment, on harnessing quantum phenomena, on properties of new materials, advancing renewable energy technologies. Artificial intelligence, already mentioned, we have key leading faculty here at the Institute, and how machine learning can apply to many different areas in natural sciences, and exploring the mysteries of the brain, as well as the intersection of neuroscience and technology. All those themes will evolve, but it will not be a top-down decision. That's where you have to go. We'll work with the faculty to develop those themes. Now, also one word about the T. So we are the Institute of Science and Technology, Austria. Let me put, are there unsuspected worlds that we yet have to discover? And the answer is yes. And I want to take you back to the year 1675, and it was a rainy May, the 26th of May, where in Delft, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, a draper who had just built the first microscope, stepped outside of his house. We know was raining, because he took a drop of rain, used his microscope and looked what's in this drop of rainwater. And he discovered what he called living atoms. He was probably the first man in history to look at microorganisms. And he can be seen as the founder of microbiology. All of us take for granted now. Now, ISTA has invested enormously in providing access to technology. We already have instruments that allow us to peek into the tiniest subatomic particles and all the way into the secrets of life. We have an instrument called cryo-electron microscope, which is a method that allows you to look at every molecule in a cell down at the resolution of a single atom. It's completely revolutionizing our understanding of biology. But we also, while we want to provide access to technology, we also want to attract people who develop technology. And becoming a pioneer in technology development, ISTA could stay at the forefront of innovation, foster renewal, and can help attract additional talent, funding, and partnerships. And usually saying with the word partnerships, while the beauty of the campus, as you can see here, might be the first impression that you get, don't let the idyllic cover of this book fool you. ISTA also has a very ambitious goal to become a powerhouse of innovation. We call it as an ecosystem of innovation. I'm looking at you, Marcus. And we obviously want to achieve two things. We want to protect and support basic research, but we also want to, whenever possible, take basic discoveries and translate them into applications and commercialization. And we can do this by having a partnership with ISTA, as it's called since last week. That's our tech transfer, which is now ISTA Innovation. And so by keeping those separate, but actually connecting them with the bridge that you see here, we actually can achieve both. And by doing so, we can participate in applying commercial goals and having a significant, long-lasting and driving impact on economic growth, societal process, and also technology advancement. And I should also mention, and I mentioned that, and it came up, like we have 4 streams of revenue. Obviously, we're publicly funded, so that's a big part, an essential driver. The third-party funding, FWF, European Research Council, are another huge stream, and we brought in €250 million that the faculty did. The third, and it's a long-term development, we hope to get revenue through technology transfer, but a fourth is being a pioneer in philanthropy. And we have a capital campaign, which we titled Be a Giant, and it aims to establish an endowment of €100 million, which will be a first in Austria. And I want to thank all the people who have already been part of and participated and contributed, but also I just wanted to highlight again the effort, the ongoing, that we are pioneering philanthropy here in Austria. And we also want to be pioneers in science education. We have an amazing graduate school, a PhD granting research institute. And here, whenever I talk about science education, I'm reminded in another quote of Herbert Spencer, who said, "We are descendants of the past, but we are the parents of the future." So training the next generation of scientists is obviously a key part of our mission. The Institute organizes many events, such as ISTA lectures and the Open Campus, which is an enormous success, to share scientific knowledge and discoveries with the public. And in the coming years, we have plans to expand our science education program. One of the ways we intend to do this by establishing what we call the Vista Science Experience Center. It will be outside on this green area next to the pond. And by 2025, it will be opened. And this center will serve as a hub for science education, offering a wide range of programs and activities for schools, teachers, and families. So please, come with your families on campus. So as we ask ourselves what kind of institute we want to become, I use a quote by the great physicist and the late great physicist Leo Szilard. And he said, "While I could easily identify," and I'm reading this here now because it's kind of long, "identify the warning signs of a failing research organization, I found it much more difficult to pinpoint the elusive qualities that make a truly great one. But there is an unmistakable feeling of completeness," which I guess is in German would be Ganzheit, "that arises when everything is working as it should. It's almost as if there is a magical force," and right, he's a physicist, "at play that cannot be quantified or explained by scientific means." And it's this sense of wholeness that I'm trying to ensure we keep, that has to be grounded in the passion for collaboration across all corners of the Institute and the commitment to continued renewal of the organization. And our administrative teams are critical for our success, and I see them as true partners in our research endeavors. We have to align administrative functions in a rapidly growing institute. That's not a trivial task. We have to enhance internal and external communication. We have to keep bureaucracy at bay. It's a tendency with a growing institution to add more bureaucracy. And we have to address serious workforce challenges. I think we all know what those are. And we have to advance a service-oriented culture. And while the secluded location, again, is a wonderful feature of the Institute because it provides a serene working environment and easy access to the outdoors, it also poses serious challenges. And for instance, we have to further develop the infrastructure. As you can see, we will actually open this building, the black building, in the very back in the summer. It's called Moonstone Building, so a great opening in June. We have to create new housing, we have to create new dining opportunities and stimulate social interactions. I'm very worried about a growing institution, it becomes more anonymous. And I heard many scientists and staff who have been here, we're losing this family kind of connection, like this close-knit community feeling. And we have to enhance the well-being on campus for every employee. And here's another quote of one of my mentors. He told me, when giving me advice of how to run a lab, as long as you're having fun, as long as you're having joy, you're doing it right. And so we should also have fun on campus, because if we do, then I think we also have one indication that we're doing it right. So, coming to an end, in his inauguration remarks, Tom, sorry to bring you up again, he said the following: "I believe that the unique attraction," that was back in 2009, that East Austria, but still is called East Austria, now we call it ISTA, is that it resembles a startup enterprise possessing 3 key indicators for success: an independent frontier spirit, high aspiration, and experienced founders. We still have the experienced founders with us. It's wonderful. ISTA is no longer a startup, but we're also not a grown-up yet. And honestly, I hope that we will never completely grow up, that we keep this energy of a startup. But we have to, we cannot go alone in developing this vision. We have to establish an environment where all voices are heard, where we all work together. And I talked a lot about people. I talked a bit about buildings, technology. But to me, and I said this again, the key success are the people at the Institute, and we have to do everything possible that they feel at home, that they can thrive in a vibrant environment. Now, our roots are in Austria, as we have heard, but our ambitions go beyond our borders. And we want to be a trusted partner to universities and institutions in Vienna, in Niederösterreich, in Austria. But we do have, and we require the recruitment of top talent from the world, so we'll continue with great ambition to recruit the best people we can find on the planet and bring them here to Klosterneuburg. And with that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my thoughts with me today and your dedication and support for the mission of ISTA. Thank you.